Hi, I'm Ray, and I hate rendering. Please believe me when I say the original plan was to make an actually helpful tutorial, but given it's my 4th time recording this and my 2nd time editing, I feel like it's only fair that you guys are subjected to at least 50% of the pain I go through making this video. If you manage to take away literally anything, and I mean anything, from this video, call CalArts and tell them you'll be on campus grounds tomorrow morning. You don't need them, they clearly need you. If you're actually following along, I'm gonna preface this whole thing by saying I'm using Clip Studio. I'm not sure about any other art programs because I can barely remember the buttons that are on mine, but I would expect them to have a lot of the features I'm gonna be using today. Layers, layer modes, tone curves, and gradient maps.
Let's go gambling! Oh yeah!
If you have all that, congrats! That's like 10% of the battle. Of course, in good nature, I'm going to be linking all the tools and brushes I use in the description below. First, you turn on your computer. Then your computer turns off by itself without no warning. Then you shake your monitor and tell it to give it a warning next time it decides to do that, completely unaware that you've called upon the curse of foreshadowing. And then at last, you open Clip Studio, but you don't start yet. First, you gotta open Google, and then after that, you have to open up Spotify, and then YouTube, and then you spend another 30 minutes scrolling, and then you sit back down and feel bad about yourself for all the time that you've wasted. First, you take your sketch, skip liner because duh. Then you make a layer underneath the sketch layer. Here I'm going to be using the polyline tool to block out what I'm rendering because goddamn my hands are shaky, guys. Usually I fill in the entire canvas, but I thought it'd be better to leave parts of the background out so I wouldn't get confused. After doing that, you should start blocking out your values in sort of grayscale. By doing so, it becomes easier to figure out your darks and your lights and how they interact with each other. Seeing my part of grayscaling here now, so here's a little added step for those who are currently struggling with grayscale like me. You have to sit in silence for 5 minutes and repeat trust the process in your head before you can pick up the pen. After deciding it looked like garbage, I merge the layers together and I start rendering the image because I'm already too far gone. And as you can see, I changed some parts of the backgrounds. I removed those rib looking figures and I replaced them with them. I don't know. Paint, streamers, eyes. I personally think that art is always up to personal interpretations. If you want to sit here and vouch for your favorite artists and say, oh, you know, my favorite artist had a vision, you know, all fine by me. But I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, if you walk up to an artist and you knock on their head, you will hear an echo. There is nothing inside. It's also here where I cleaned up some parts of the drawing what I thought really mattered. The face, the ribcage, the knife. Yes, that's supposed to be a knife. So on and so forth. I changed up some of the values as well, and honestly, truthfully speaking, it looked a bit better. You know what would make it look tolerable? This is probably the most awkward part of the process, and I'll admit it. There are definitely infinitely better ways to do this. For this phase, I blocked in the base colors of the characters and I decided to set the grayscale layer to brightness on top of the new color layer that I created. Duh. I found that using multiply would make my art look too muddy, so then I changed the grayscale layer to overlay and it still looked awful. Then amidst my pain and utter agony, I receive a vision for the first time. In that vision was God himself throwing up the nastiest L I've ever seen. I open up my eyes, my monitor flashes the blue screen of death before restarting. And now, like, at this point, I'm used to it. In fact, I asked for this. I asked for a warning and I got a warning. But what I failed to mention is that you're supposed to save. I didn't save at all. So imagine my face when I see the ugliest grayscale drawing in my life. It is not every day that you hear someone say that they had a staring contest with their drawing, but how embarrassing is it for me to admit that I lost? I lost! Now, the mantra that was once trust the process turns into fuck it, we ball as we duplicate the grayscale layer and add a random gradient map to it. And despite how much I felt like I didn't care, I slowly found out that letting whatever hit the fan was invigorating. I added more tonal correction layers because why not? Posterization? Sure. Gradient maps? Done. Level corrections? There. Overlay, brightness, color balance? You don't even have to ask. If there's something I'll accept as a universal truth, it's that hysteria and delusion create nothing but bangers every single time. because when I placed the last adjustment layer, I looked at that and I thought, that's fire! This would be a great place to finish out the video if there wasn't any. Oh, come on! If you're here thinking that war is over, I'm here to tell you that no, we just finished the draft. Rendering is a completely different beast of its own, and I feel nothing but pity for the naive people who think it to be anything less. This is the part of the tutorial where you merge every single extra layer that you have together into one, so you can't undo or delete. In all honesty, rendering is quite literally anything and everything you want it to be. Sure, you're adding depth to pre-existing subjects and all that nonsense, but one thing I'll always stress is to never let that limit you or your creative ideas. Someone has something they shouldn't have? Get rid of it. Need a friend? They're right here. As you draw, it's totally fine to execute different ideas. You can come up with something cool, and if it fails, you just paint over it. You win more than you can ever possibly lose. I then proceeded to lose for the next 3 hours straight, but I managed to create something I was happy with. Sure, it could use more tweaks here and there, and I could spend like forever doing that, but it was something I was proud of, and you know, just as I was proud, I was doubly as happy because thank God I was done. I am going to close Clip Studio. So to come full circle, if you learned something from this video, good for you. If you came here to learn and you didn't, don't look at me. I am merely God's weakest soldier.